Somebody's asked, there's low numbers again in the Welsh, so they're trying to think of ideas of how to up the intake for next year. So if we look back at Britain's under-80s, what Luke Davis and I did the other year, we're speaking from experience, and we managed to get loads of under-80s in. I can't remember the number, maybe 30, 40 entries. No, in fact, more than 40 entries. We were told that basically good luck when we came up with the idea because there's not that much interest in the under-80s. What we did, we built it around the athletes. Rather than thinking about certain weights that people should be lifting and then see who enters off the back of that, we didn't want the weight to be a limiting thing in terms of getting people to enter. We wanted anybody who would like to do it to be able to enter. And I know there comes the argument of this is strongman, they should be able to lift X, Y, and Z, but the X, Y, and Z should be built around the sample. So it should be built around the sample size of the sample of the people who could potentially want to enter the comp. So in my opinion, everybody who is willing and wants to do it and represent, they should be allowed to do it. Then they should be able to do it, and the weight shouldn't be a limiting factor. So a way that we worked around this was we gave weight options. So we'll take the under 80s, for example. So where you have some of the guys that might be doing, say, 90, 100, 110 overhead for reps and doing really well, and then moving on to the international stuff. You also got the guys at the other end who are newer to the sport, who 70 kilos may be a challenging weight. So what we found was the fact that having these weight options, and now there's been comps since with up to 3 weight options, it facilitates everybody who wants to do it to be able to do it and builds these nice clusters. And a thing that we had in terms of a reservation start with was the fact that is it going to dilute the quality or whatever. Whereas actually I found that the newer guys that were lifting the lighter weights were just so inspired by being able to lift on the same platform as the top guys that they follow and they're inspired by in their lane. So I've got a quote here. I've not been from an under 80. I've not been doing strongman that long yet. Only my second year. So the under 80s comp, even natty qualifiers, are fairly heavy for me just to be able to hit the opening weights. So more manageable weight options would definitely help. And then another person's put, I get to compete amongst the best guys and great experience, but don't need a 300k deadlift or 100 kilo dumbbell at under 80 to do it. And then I found that it was really motivational for the top guys to be able to have more people to go against and more people to compete against, which is just absolutely brilliant. Like, if you're thinking, would you rather come third out of a field or top? Would you rather podium in a field of 6 athletes, or would you rather podium in a field of 25 athletes? Like, for me, I'd always wanted to be compete. I just love beating people, and I want to be able to beat as many people as possible. The other advantages of the get with the lighter option is you actually get people who might have a standout event who are still new to it, who really fired up and motivated and have a chance to take scalps on the heavier against the bigger guys. They might have somebody who's really good at farmers or really fast on yoke, for instance, but not as advanced on the other lifts. And it's brilliant for them to use as a confidence builder, to have more data to compete, to use for the training for the following years, and maybe next year have 2 events that they pushing the top guys on. But also it's brilliant for the top guys, and it holds the top guys accountable, because you've got all these other guys that can mix up the points. For instance, like say on something like a moving event where there could be split seconds in that splitting points. You've got these guys that are taking scalps, like splitting up the top guys in terms of point split. So it's just a fantastic concept. Also, what we did with to promote the comp even more, we put half of the entry fees, and obviously we were happy to just take a loss on this, which we didn't in the end. Actually, we still made plenty of profit, and we had loads of sponsors come forward because they could see how much that we were committed to putting into the event. We put 50% of the prize pot straight into the sorry, we put 50% of the entry fees straight into the prize pot. This is such a simple model that incentivizes the top guys to do it. The guys that might be just wanting to do the internationals, or they want to be minimizing how many times they cut weight in a year, for instance, and they want something that incentivizes them. So we incentivize them by giving them prize money. So I think we had over £1,000 for first, which was unheard of in this country for weight class, but using that simple model. And what we found that this was brilliant for incentivizing the top guys to compete, but also it was great for the guys that were newer to it to feel that that was part of the selling point to them, that even though they're coming to make up the numbers kind of thing and for a training day or to just compete on the same platform as these other guys and like happy to finish low down in the placings, that they were actually supporting the top guys, because we found that this was a bit of a barrier, is the people who are newer to it feel like that, oh well, like a bit of imposter syndrome, like, do I deserve to be there against these top guys? Should I be there? Or maybe not this year. Those kind of people entered because we came back with them and said, look, we want you to enter. It doesn't matter if repping some of the events. Like your half of your entry fee is going to support these athletes into the inspiring athletes that you follow. You're going to be able to support these directly by funding going towards funding the travel for international comps and stuff like that. And we just found that it was a really good model that facilitated both the top end and the newer guys. Another thing that we used to incentivize the top guys was giving them the opportunity to go for records. So in that comp, we had a max deadlift that was really exciting, that set a new world record. In the under 80s, there was a dumbbell record that went, and then an Atlas Stone record that went, and it was just absolutely brilliant. And again, giving the platform for the top guys to be able to do this. So in terms of Wales, like, we appreciate that it's a small population in comparison. So for some of the guys I've spoken to who just want to compete against more people, another thing to consider would be allowing and supporting guest lifters to make up the numbers. I'm not sure how you do it in terms of including in the scoring or whatever, but someone like me, for instance, I love competing, and I'm motivated by competing at certain. I'm driven by the weights rather than going to do like a practice comp for a title or something. Like there's been a couple of times where I've seen the Welsh under 90s, and I think I've even asked if I could do it as a guest lifter a couple of times, and then I didn't end up doing it. But if there's like events there that could be, just good experience for some of the other guys to get an extra comp in, then I think that's another thing that could get more entries too. Another thing that I would consider, another thing that feedback that I've had off people is that some people are driven by unique events. Some people want to see some like fancy events, and they're excited by being able to do like a truck pull or a car deadlift or an arm over arm, something like that. But you have to get the other people. You have to consider the other people, like me, for instance, who, for like say for instance, we're using the Welsh to qualify for, I don't know, Britain's or Europe's or wherever it leads. Then I'd like to see more people doing it, and actually more head-to-head stuff. And I like actually simpler events that are quite easy to replicate in competition. In training. So then it's easier for these like newer guys to actually see that, what, I can do a 70, 80, 90 log, rather than it being another barrier to them thinking, oh, am I going to be able to do this heavy arm over arm, or am I going to be able to move that truck or whatever? And also, I just feel like you're giving yourself a lot better thing, as a lot easier task as an event organizer to run simple events that people, the advantage of running simple events, people already know what they're doing. If you're doing like a log for reps, an axle for reps, a deadlift for reps, or whatever, it may seem boring because like lots of people are doing this, but the truth be told, like there's not that. There's a lot of competition organizers throughout the country who still aren't doing the basics really well. So I actually think that if you're doing the basics really, really well, like have a few lanes doing head-to-head farmers, 3 or 4 lanes, and you have like, it's a simple event that comes up all the time, but actually doing the basics really, really well from an athlete's perspective, it is. I love going to competitions like that. So obviously you've got to decide what the balancing point is, but what's going to be the draw? Why is it? What's going to be an easier task to actually just deliver a brilliant competition? Is it going to be something that, like, I've been to competitions that have been national level or whatever, and you can tell they've just been thought about on the day, like marking out things on the floor and kind of just making it up and playing it by ear, and it's really disheartening as an athlete. Whereas I'd rather have something simpler that's just right. These are the specifications. This is how it's going to run. Let's see what the best people can do. And so another thing that comes with the comp experience is basically setting yourself up to deliver a brilliant experience in terms of are the, like, say if you prepare these simpler events, are they going to be easier to provide? Have you got more kit that you're going to be able to provide a really good warm up area for? Like, have you got some other logs? Have you got some other axle bars? Probably. But are you going to have like another arm over arm setup or another vehicle pull to warm up on? And I know, like, don't get me wrong, like I personally I'd personally prefer just to have no warm up at all and go straight in. But I'm speaking from the masses. Like, a lot of people, that's a massive thing that people reflect on competition experiences and think, oh, the warm up was rubbish or whatever. So if you feel like they can reflect on the competition and say, yeah, it was really good, the warm up was good, the refereeing was consistent, then yeah, it's going to add to that experience. And then the final thing that I'll suggest would be do the research by getting in touch with get in touch with the best guys, the guys that have been doing it the last 2-3 years. Why are they coming back? What do they like? Is it just for the title? Are they enjoying it? Like, what would they like? What would they like to see? What have they enjoyed? What's been the best experience in the last few years that they'd like to see more of? What do they think's a bit rubbish and would like to see develop? Like, use their suggestions, like use their experience. Also, like, incentivize coaches and gyms. Going back to that initial principle that I said about building it around the sample, like get in touch with the coaches. Like, I coach guys loads of guys that are doing 80s and 90s and weight classes, whatever. Like, somebody like me, message me and ask what kind of weights that you think they should be doing, what kind of events that they think, what kind of events would attract certain people to do the competition. Maybe even so you could do the same thing with popular gyms. You know, there's lots of gyms throughout the country that have got these weight class people training there. So why don't you again do the research based around them rather than just putting something out on Facebook and kind of hoping for the best? Like, actually strategically target these. Like, gyms and coaches are going to help you. It'd be brilliant for me to have something to promote, because it means that my clients are getting engaged in something that's going to help them with motivation. Blah blah blah. Yeah. So why not incentivize? Why not incentivize coaches? Why not incentivize coaches, gyms, athletes for actually selling places? Like, could you put the entry fee up 10% and give the representative like a 10% commission? You know, I don't like, whatever you charge. If you're charging 40 quid, could you charge 45 quid and give one of the gyms, the coaches who sold the place, a fiver per thing? But you wouldn't be losing out on anything.